Okay, so welcome back to another episode of Tidbits with Tracy. Really pumped about today's guest who is going to be showing us, bringing us a wealth of knowledge from sales, marketing, biz dev, corporate real estate, building owners and managers. I mean, you name it, she's been a part of it all. So, Christine, welcome, and why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. So happy to be here. Good to see you. I am Christine Alamed. I'm the corporate account director for network distribution. And that means I manage our corporate accounts across North America in the commercial real estate space. We are based out of Schaumburg, Illinois, but I live in Baltimore, Maryland.
Amazing. Well, welcome, welcome. So, you have had a very impressive career path. Again, I was snooping on you. I sometimes do that. But why don't you tell us where you began in this industry because you have come a long way and you have accomplished so much.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey. I started my career out in the food service sales side of the business, working with some large broadliners. And at that point, I had kind of reached the pinnacle of where I could go with my career within that particular organization and had an opportunity to take a leap into the Jan San space, the glorious world of janitorial sanitation supply, on the manufacturing side with a paper company. And so that's kind of how I got into this arena. So I landed that job, stayed with them for almost 15 years, and then transitioned into the distribution side in 2019, which is how I ended up at Network today. So food service to Jansan, a little bit of a leap, but it's been a great ride. I've learned a ton.
Oh, I love it. So, out of curiosity, because you spent 15 years, you said, with that firm,
Mhm.
what are some advice you could give to someone who might be thinking about transitioning or sees an opportunity? How do you know it's the right one when you've been with a company for so long? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, for me, it was some internal corporate changes, and I actually moved
Oh,
from
got it.
a sales leadership role into a marketing leadership role. So, there's a lot of within sales and marketing, right? It's like, oh, you went to the dark side. You're a salesperson. You
Oh,
went to marketing. But it was a great move for me at the time. Definitely helped me understand the company better overall, and understand, the whole, full circle of doing business, right? Marketing and sales are so connected,
oh,
and they really need to be one team, right? So um, I enjoyed that piece, but I knew I wanted to get back into sales, the business
yep.
development side, right? And so I had a path in mind, 3 years, and then I wanted to get back into the sales side. And so for me, I kind of knew where I wanted to go. And at the time, it just didn't work out with the company that I was in to get kind of where I wanted to be.
Yep.
So I had some other opportunities through some other relationships I'd built, to make a move. And so that's why I moved to the distribution side. So I think for me, it's a big plus
Yeah.
because I come from manufacturing. I have called on distribution. I've
Mhm.
sold to distribution. So working on this side, I understand, what our supplier partners need, as well as, the customers that we're servicing. So for me, it just made the most sense, right? It kind of closes that circle, having been on all sides of the business.
No, I love that. And I mean, I think like to your point, creating this vision for yourself, having a clear idea of, what your strengths are, what you want to accomplish, it really helps with those decision making, especially when you've, been in a certain industry or with a company for so long. When you see that end goal of where you want to go, it makes it a lot more simple to make those decisions. So it's
For
incredible.
sure.
And what you said is spot on with sales and marketing, and we've seen this in our world as well. When you actually know the problem statements you're selling to, and you've experienced them and you've worked with them, it makes it a lot easier to connect with your clients and to, make that sales process a lot easier, I think.
Absolutely. And another thing I might add too, when you're someone that's out there that's trying to figure out your path, right? I mean, hone into what you really enjoy doing in your day to day and figure that out. And one thing I would say is just really focus on what it is that you can control,
Yeah.
right? Because there are certain things you might get within a company or be within a role, and you can't control certain things, right? So focus on what you can, and then, over communicate. Make sure the people around you, the people that you're surrounding yourself with, the people within your company know what you want. Because just, and this is something that I learned, and I think it's spot on. Just because you're really good at something does not mean that's what it is that you want to do, right?
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of us get in that hole, especially women, because a lot of times we are less likely to assert ourselves or communicate our wishes. If we're doing a really good job and we're being complimented and we're being compensated, we think, well, gosh, I'm doing so well here, and you know, why would I leave, right? But is it really what you want to be doing?
Ugh.
And I think that that's something key to think about. Don't put yourself in a box,
Mm, I
and
love
make
it.
sure that that your voice is being heard, and that you know that you belong to be wherever you choose to be.
Oh man, let's just drop the mic right there. Amazing. That's incredible advice and such amazing lessons learned. I mean, when you're following your passion, it's very different than just, I mean, you can be amazing at a lot of things. It doesn't mean that that's
Right.
what you were meant to be doing. So listening to yourself, asking for what you want is, I think, a huge takeaway. And to your point, women and, historically we just kind of suck it up and, we're able
Mhm.
to kick some butt while, sometimes taking on a lot and not verbalizing what we really want out of a job or a career or compensation even. So I think that's
Yep.
incredibly powerful. So looking at your experience, you not only have, accomplished a lot in your career, but you've also gotten heavily involved in organizations in the industry. You chair councils, which I mean, girl, you're doing it all. So can you give some advice or tell us a little bit about those experiences, sitting as a chair or getting involved in those types of organizations? Is it important?
For sure. I can say, I mean, in my career, you know, if you want to be the best that you can be, right? If you want to be, and I'll just use CRE because that's where I am, right? If I want to be the market expert,
Mhm.
these industry associations are invaluable. It's a fabulous opportunity to learn. It's a fabulous way to connect and network. I mean, Tracy, you and I met through an industry organization event, right? So these are the types of things where you can really elevate yourself and your brand as well as your company's brand pretty quickly. And a lot of people I think are apprehensive. They think, man, that's just more time. Um, but if there's ways that you can weave that into your professional career, um, and connecting, anytime you can connect with other people that are within your industry or that are tied to your customer base or your supplier base or whatever that is, you're going to learn and grow.
Yeah.
And anytime you get an opportunity to learn and grow, it's a good opportunity, right? And
Mhm.
so I find these organizations invaluable. And it's done a ton, not only for me personally. I've made great friends and long lasting relationships, but it's done a ton for me professionally as well as for my company. I mean, the brand recognition that you're putting out there when you're the face of your company at these organizations and sitting on committees and sitting on boards, uh, you know, it's a win-win all the way around. And again, for me, it's all about learning and meeting and connecting because the world is a small place.
Great.
And the more that you're surrounding yourself with folks that are like-minded, that have goals and visions like your own, the better off we're all going to be. It's all about collaboration, and so yeah, look, and one size doesn't fit all. So I would encourage you to do a little research if you're interested in getting involved in an organization. Go to a luncheon,
Yep.
feel it out. Uh, and you'll find one that seems like a good fit. And then when you do, immediately try to get involved, get on a committee, volunteer for events, make yourself, because it's one thing to just pay dues and show up to a luncheon. But if you want to get the full value, you really need to kind of submerge yourself in it and really try to connect. And it will happen very quickly if you do that. It's just a great way to build your professional development and your networking pool.
No, you're spot on. Some of my closest friends I met through industry organizations and sitting on the committees with them. And I think it's a great takeaway to encourage others because it can be a little nerve-wracking. We're going through
Mhm.
it right now. I emailed you the other day of what organizations can we get a part of in that corporate real estate and building management world because it's very different than aviation. And
Yeah,
it's everyone is so I don't even want to say surprisingly because it's not surprising, but everyone is always so welcoming. And when you go to these organizations, it can be a little nerve-wracking to be the new kid on the block, right? When
right.
a lot of the world is small, everyone knows everybody. But oftentimes, and probably 99% of the time, everyone welcomes you in with open arms. And I think if your intentions are there to listen, to your point, to learn, to adapt, to meet, to network, then you're going to have an incredible time no matter what, friendship and,
Exactly.
professionally as well.
100%.
So, out of curiosity, you've been in the distribution, Jansan, you've now in corporate real estate, but you've also been a part of technology with a lot of these companies as well in the sales and marketing roles. But what are some of the unique trends that you've seen just in the space in general, maybe technology trends even?
For sure. Well, I will tell you, there's been a lot of innovation that's come out of the COVID pandemic for sure. And people showed, that they can get a lot accomplished and much quicker through the use of technology, whether it's, this WebEx or it's Zoom or other platforms, right? I mean, we had to pivot and pivot quickly. Business wasn't going to stop, especially in my world, right? I mean, we're supply chain.
Yeah.
So um, I think people want more data these days.
Mhm.
With the web and people having access to things right at their fingertips on their phone. I mean, think you can Google, hey, what's a good, I mean, stuff is instantaneous, right? So people want the data because they know that the data is going to help drive efficiencies in their business. In particular, in the CRE space, a lot of conversations around data and analytics that can show the safety of their buildings, how often things are being cleaned, the wellness. I mean, these are data points that they want to go back to their tenants and say, hey, here's what we're doing to make this a healthier, safer, better facility for you to be in. And this is why your people should come to the office and want to come back to the office because of X, Y, and Z, right? So it's data is king. And I know it's getting a little overused. I mean, you're in the technology world, you know, Tracy, but it's definitely there's a hunger for it. Uh, People are interested in it and they really want to find out what they can get from us, right? Like they don't know. The property managers have no idea what's out there. They know what they think they want, but this is where it's our jobs to come in and show them everything that's there. But for sure, the connections of IoT, the
Mhm.
connections of being able to say, hey, I know that we had 5 day porters in today and they were here, here, and here, and here. It holds people accountable, it makes things better, and people have more information, and knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely.
So there's
And
been a huge shift. I mean, there was a little bit of a trend leading up to COVID. You'd
Mhm.
see some systems which you're familiar with, for restrooms and things like that, but not nearly as much interest as has come from the pandemic, and then really this need to have data around everything. But I would say in my world around the health and safety and wellness of their buildings
I
and
love it.
operations.
Yeah. And in order for people to feel safe to go back to collaborating or to go to those industry organizations, it's
Yeah,
important to, make a safe and healthy environment for them to be in. And I think everyone's eyes are now opening to what data out there is even available. And I think
for
that's also
sure.
just a trend of, even just 5 years ago, what was available is, starkly different than what we have now. And it's going to continue to increase. And I think it's
Yes,
exciting to see that, but it's also exciting to educate people on what's out there and what they can, buy or use or to create a more hygienic building.
exactly. And with flexibility, right? Because one size doesn't fit all.
Amen,
So I
sister.
think the companies that are, adapting to that and have these customizable, flexible kind of solutions and things that can tie in and you know, it's not a here's the one and done, right? So
Size fits all. No, I love it. So thank you, Christine. Let's end on one last note because,
okay.
as I mentioned, you've accomplished so much and you are so fun to learn from and to listen to. And I've learned so much from you, even just the short time I've met you. But what's one piece of advice that you could give to others, whether they were looking to start their careers in your industry or whether they're looking to grow and professionally make those next steps to, like you said, to get known, to create a brand of their own? What's some advice you would give?
You know, the one piece of advice I think that was always important for me is believing that I belonged there.
Mm,
So, you know, and especially as a woman, I mean, obviously we are leaps and bounds now from even when I started, you know, a number of years ago. But I think it's important that anyone that if if you found something that you want to do, you know, you go in knowing that you belong there. Okay. Wherever it is you want to go and whatever it is you want to become, you have to know that you belong there and don't let anyone get in your way of that. Right. It's your vision, it's your goal. So you create your path. And even if that means that you have to go over or around, you know, or take the long way, whatever that looks like, but stay true to that and believe in your purpose of being there.
ugh,
Um, I mean, I can think of an example of a woman in our industry who is a executive sales leader, and she was told um, a number of years ago when she went to work for this particular company that there would never be a female
wow.
sales leader.
Oh,
So, you know, this person made it their goal because that's what she wanted. She wanted to lead. She saw vision and she knew exactly where she thought this company could go. And that's where she is.
mm,
Right. So a lot of it really is, and people are going to get in your way. I know it sounds really simple, but you can be your worst enemy. So as
absolutely.
long as you are confident in what it is that you want to do, you create your path, you've got your vision, you make it happen, and just know that you know that you belong there.
Oh, I love it. What incredible advice. Just don't be afraid to take up space. And I think
Yeah.
that for women in general, we sometimes will try to get smaller to fit in. And no, take up
Mhm.
space. To your point, you belong there, own it, and then create your own path the way that everybody else is as well. And I think that's
Exactly.
so incredibly special. So thank you so very much for your time today, Christine.
You
It's
bet.
wonderful as always. Thank you for letting us learn from you today. Really appreciate it. And we will let you go conquer the world.
Thank you so much. It was my honor to be here. I appreciate the invite, Tracy, and really good to see you as always.
To see you too. We'll talk soon.
Thanks. Take care. Bye, everybody.